and welcome along to this latest episode of Edie's Susty Talks, our one-on-one interviews with sustainability leaders from across the world, aimed at keeping us all better connected, informed and energised, even if we are pressed for time, now hosted on our new Edie Extra channel. You're listening to the voice of Edie's content editor, Sarah George, and I'm delighted to be joined on the line today by John Count, who is the head of Diageo Sustainable Solutions, the open innovation programme of beverage giant Diageo. Thank you for your time, John. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks, Sarah. How are you?
I am very warm, recording this in the middle of summer, in the middle of a heat wave, which for me in the south is pretty sweltering. But John, whereabouts are you based?
I'm based in Edinburgh, so I think we're probably a good 10 degrees cooler than you today, but it's a nice sunny day here.
Very jealous. So before we get into it, I think it's probably worth introducing Diageo Sustainable Solutions to our audience, so a little bit about what it does, why it was set up and what it's achieving.
Sure, great. Okay, when we set our targets for our latest sustainability targets, we set them with a significant stretch. And, when we talk about these targets, I'll refer to our grain to glass targets throughout this conversation. But we recognised that given how stretching they were, that we would require different thinking and new ways of making our products more innovative to help deliver those targets, those stretching targets. And so with that in mind, we launched Diageo Sustainable Solutions in November 2020. Around the same time, we launched our grain to glass targets, recognising that open innovation was a really good way of engaging differently with the external ecosystem and allowing us to tap into these emerging technologies, and in doing so sort of ensuring that we were early adopters of these sort of clean technologies that were coming through. So that's what we've put in place. The program's been in place for just over 4 years, and we've run 3 complete rounds, and we're in the middle of running our 4th round just now. So really the program's all about finding future innovations that we can deploy to not only reduce our own impact, but also benefit our business bottom line, as well as benefiting the broader industry in a similar way as well.
Great. And what are those innovation areas that you've been looking for so far?
Our main areas have been around progressing our carbon reduction and efficiency around water use. That's great. They're quite big, broad umbrellas. Within that as well, it's an important point to call out that sustainable by design and making our products and packaging as sustainable as possible is important. And we've been really thinking about those big targets. We've been focusing our challenges in those areas. So I think when we launched this initially, we felt we would work our way down a wish list. But actually, I think what we recognise now is we'll keep coming back to those big areas of carbon efficiency and water efficiency, and looking for the technologies that can continue to help us make a difference in those key areas.
Got it. And John, often we hear about these sustainability accelerators, and the big questions are usually how are the participants selected and supported, and what do they do beyond simply brainstorming? So what's the process for applying and then getting into Diageo Sustainable Solutions?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think the opportunity to collaborate is really exciting, but you need to have a structured approach to that. And what we recognised is that using an open innovation programme and process really helps with that. So we developed some detailed challenges and problem statements that we can post via our open innovation platform, and in doing so, hopefully attract individuals and startups and innovators with technologies that are relevant to those challenges. We select the best of those, and we then scope out a detailed pilot that can then test, either prove or disprove that technology can have an impact in the way that we want it to within our supply chains. And then beyond that, we'll be looking to scale the technologies that we're most excited about.
Yeah, super interesting stuff. And John, I understand you have a background that can really help with that next stage. So what were you up to before Diageo Sustainable Solutions, and how does that tie into doing that work stream that you mentioned?
Yeah, so I've been with Diageo over 25 years now, mostly working in supply chain roles across procurement and new product development mainly. And that allows me to really understand how our supply chain works and have a good network to allow me to tap into that network to help connect in the startups to the relevant people. One of the real highlights of this role is actually seeing the technical experts from external innovation companies and connecting them to our own internal experts. And we've got a huge number of subject matter experts who are not always getting the chance to engage externally. So this is a great way to connect these like minds, if you like, and help actually tease out some really interesting use case applications for the technology. So it's really great to witness that and be part of that experience.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning you jumped a bit ahead and went straight into an example of that. So it'd be great to hear about some of these examples in real life of what's been going on so far.
Yeah, sure. So within the 4 rounds, I guess I'll focus on a couple of examples from earlier rounds. So in round 1, we actually posted a water challenge, but we also had a packaging challenge, we had a heat challenge, and we had a farming challenge. So we actually won't probably do that again, but it was a good way of demonstrating the breadth of our targets in our first round when we launched back in 2020. So if thinking about the water challenge, we were actually partnering now with a company called 42 Sensors, and they had a really novel sensor that could detect within pipework what's going on within a liquid, to the point that they can pretty much fingerprint liquids. And we've developed a really interesting use case for that technology around cleaning our pipework and what we call CIPs, which allows us to move from one product to the next without any contamination risk. And we've managed to actually look at this technology in that use case and demonstrate there's a real opportunity to actually clean more efficiently and use less water. Quite often the water's hot water, and therefore we're not only saving water, but we're saving energy in the process as well. Another technology that we're really excited about is a partnership with an organization called Exergy. They are developing a coating technology that gets applied to glass. Effectively, it's like liquid glass, and it helps actually heal the micro cracks that exist within the surface of glass bottles. And in doing so, makes the glass a lot stronger. So we're really excited around the potential there, because anything that can help us, reduce the weight of our bottles will have a significant impact on the overall carbon footprint. And the applications are clearly for single-use bottles and making them lighter and therefore more efficient and from a carbon point of view. But equally also, it's really exciting to think about what might be possible for reuse glass as well, as the coating helps make the glass more suitable for supply chain reuse. And we're hoping to get a number of increased uses out of our cycles from the glass with the coating technology applied.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these interventions can really make changes. When you think of a factory, it's probably not what you think of, especially to me sitting in my office-based job, but so important, especially when you've got these massive targets to meet. So just looking at some of Diageo's sustainability targets, we've got net zero direct operations this decade, net zero value chain by 2050, and then some pretty stretching targets on water efficiency, especially in water stressed areas, plus big targets about water replenishment too. So quite frankly, would it be possible for businesses such as yourself to meet these stretching targets without engaging startups and scale-ups?
I think it's unlikely, Sarah. I think, when we set stretching targets like those, I think it's fair to say, and I think other companies would be the same, that we have roadmaps that pave the way to getting there, but there are gaps in those roadmaps. And one of the obvious places to look for gap fillers is in the world of innovation, and really that's what DSS is all about. It's putting a framework and a way of working that allows us to tap in to that expansive network of entrepreneurs and innovators that is coming from the startup community, but equally also coming from academia and the spin-offs from academia, as well as the very sort of thriving area of innovators and accelerators. And so this program really allows us to tap into that community, put a structure around that, a clear way of working, and actually it's been quite successful in creating a nice platform for collaboration that's been working really well for us and giving a good insight into the technologies that are out there and how they can help our supply chain and the broader industry move forward and help plug those gaps.
Yeah, you see it all the time, especially as corporate net zero transition plans come out. You see a sort of, we're not quite sure about this 5%, we'll invest there. And we'll probably have some people listening from other big businesses that maybe don't have an accelerator but would like one, or are looking to fine tune their accelerator. So what would be your top learning or couple of learnings that you would give to them from your experience over the past 4 years or so, John?
Well, I think the first thing would be there's actually a lot of people like us who've actually started on this journey and have put in place either a similar platform or a slightly different platform that allows this sort of test and learn collaboration. So my first advice would be have a look and see what's out there. There are some fantastic platforms. They're all quite different in how they're designed. Some of them are set up for individual companies to engage directly, like DSS. Some others are actually set up in partnership with other corporates, and they're all working in the same way broadly, in the sense that they tend to be using proof of concept pilots. But equally, they're all different, and quite often you'll see the companies are focused on different problem areas that relate to their supply chain. So it's definitely worth having a look out, see what's there. A lot of these programs are very open in terms of their approach, and so there's a number of them, including ourselves, who are very open to sharing the collaboration and the updates as those collaborations develop, and equally actually sharing the results towards the end of the collaboration. And so there's lots there to learn from. No need to start this from scratch and go through the learning curve yourself. There's lots of opportunity to collaborate and learn from others.
Great. And similarly, I'd love to get your top advice for people that are startups and scale ups and are maybe looking for support from the big guys like yourselves. So when you hear from your startups, what are they looking for? How could they be helped to navigate this process?
Yeah, sure. So there's probably a couple of things in here. The first one is quite often we see startups and innovators coming with a really great idea that relates to one part of the solution. And therefore, I think it's be open. The first piece is to be really open to collaborate with others, so that there's other pieces of the jigsaw that can be completed at the same time. I think the second thing is really to get very clear on their use case application. Quite often we see some really great technologies and there's a real clarity and understanding of the technology itself, but not often do we see the same sort of clarity around where the use case applications will be for big business. And that's where we can play a role through our open innovation programs to actually use the pilots to help tease out and help develop those commercial applications. I think that's the mad secret sauce almost of the open innovation programs that brings those two things together. But that's certainly something that startups can really do a bit of pre-work on prior to engaging with corporates.
Great. Well, we're coming into hopefully some quieter months, so people will have some time to maybe take a step back from their day job and think about that. So as we come to the end of our podcast, John, it'd be great to touch on essentially what you and your team are going to be focusing on for the year and the round ahead. Are there any big differences that we should be aware of from previous years and rounds?
I think ultimately we need to keep thinking about the priority areas for us. So I think we will continue to focus primarily on the key areas of water and carbon. We recognise that actually just having one challenge in each of these areas will never be enough to help us to deliver the gaps that I referred to earlier. So we will just continually keep looking in those technology areas, quite often developing challenges in a slightly different area. We have recognised that the more specific we can be with a challenge leads to higher quality of applications. And so really it's just about going back to where we have the biggest gaps in the roadmaps that I referred to, and then focusing in on these priority areas. So consistent with that approach, we actually just recently launched earlier this year round 4, which had 5 separate water challenges ranging from water efficiency at our production facilities and at the facilities of our suppliers, right through to thinking about the technologies that could support the water efficiency of our trade customers within the hospitality sector. And these were launched back at the start of the year, and we've got over 100 applications across the 5 challenges. And we're actually just going through the final shortlisting process right now. I'm really excited because we've got some great technologies in there that we're focusing in on, and confident that we'll get to a pilot announcement fairly soon. So I do think that we will stay focused on the big areas. The other thing I'd point out is that quite often when we put these challenges out there, we're obviously hoping for close to commercialization technologies, but that's not always the case. So as well as them launching, new challenges, we will stay committed to the partnerships that tend to be, or maybe quite early stage, and so we'll stay committed to those partners and help them get to a point where they're commercially ready as well. And sometimes that's not a quick process. That can take a couple of years sometimes, and by working on defining that use case scenario, we hopefully get them one stage closer to commercialization.
Great. Well, John, do keep us at ED posted on that. Loads of exciting stuff going on, but that's just about all the time we have for this episode. So thank you so much for giving your time and your insight on Susty Talks. For me, at least, loads of good takeaways there on spearheading environmental innovation in operations and the supply chain. So hopefully it's the same for everyone listening at home. So John, massive thank you once again.
No problem. Thank you.